After driving a Tesla Model 3, the new Highland version, well, not the latest version, in fact, there's an even later version than what I drove because it just came out about 2.5 weeks ago in America. But after driving this car, I was seriously asking myself the question, is this the best electric car you can buy? At least in the United States. When it comes to the United States, the new Tesla Model 3, it has 363 miles of real-world range, even on the freeway driving 70 miles an hour. There's nothing else like it. There's nothing else in the United States where you can get this much range at this price. But range isn't everything. What about every other experience? What about supercharging your vehicle? What about going on long road trips? We certainly did that when we were in LA, California. We went to San Francisco. We went down towards San Diego. We drove more than 2,000 miles in about 10 days. And honestly, I cannot believe how good the Tesla Model 3 Highland actually is in the real world. Is there any problems with it though? Yeah, there's a couple. I'm going to tell you what they are. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. I've been told by some Americans I don't have a very strong Australian accent. I've been told by others that I need to speak more like an American because otherwise they can't understand me. You can't please everyone. That's one of the things I learned during my trip. I also learned that Americans are, well, pretty damn friendly. Honestly, went to a baseball game, went to a 49ers game. Great. My first experience going to baseball and NFL games, and people were, to be honest, awesome. Where are we going?
Stadium.
Where are we going, Jack?
What's American football?
Except one person actually, while I was walking with my friend Bill, who I lived with in Western Australia many years ago, hadn't seen him for 20 years. We were walking back from a baseball game, and a drunk Spanish person, not Spanish, I don't know, she's speaking Spanish, punched me for no reason while I was walking past, and then gave me the finger and gave me the F word. I don't know why. Anyway, apparently they can get a bit fiery sometimes, and I was told by my friend that I should just ignore it and keep walking, which is what I did. Other than that, my experience in America, especially driving the Model 3, was just mind-blowingly good. My Model 3, I did drive it for about 2,000 miles. A lot of driving. Drove to San Diego, drove back. We went on different detours here and there. Drove to San Francisco as well. Then I drove as well from our hotel in Fountain Valley, drove out to the baseball game, which was, I don't know, it was 2 hours of driving through crazy LA traffic. I experienced some crazy traffic, some great traffic. I experienced all different kinds of roads. There was great freeways, there was rubbish freeways, there was good highway roads, bad roads, gravel roads, all kinds of things. And I think my experience in the Model 3 was pretty exhaustive. It wasn't like some crappy journalist where they take the car for a day and start harping on how they know everything about the car. I honestly think my experience of driving this car was pretty good. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't like owning the car for 6 months. It was pretty damn good. Here are the negatives though. Autopilot. Obviously, I didn't have full self-driving. I used full self-driving in a different Tesla Model 3 and in the Cybertruck, which blew my mind how damn good it was. But autopilot comes standard. And autopilot is good. It's good on freeways, but stop-start traffic on freeways, sometimes it slams the brakes on. I'm not talking about phantom braking here. I'm talking about when it's just driving itself in its freeway lane and it has to stop sometimes. It kind of panics a little bit and can stop a bit harder than it needs to, and I start to feel a bit nauseous. So that's the one downside. Sometimes I think, why are you braking so hard? I'd even say to the car, don't brake so hard. You don't need to. That's the one downside. But autopilot was pretty good, and you can adjust the way it reacts to some degree. Pretty good for a free system, right? It can do 85 miles an hour, but I will tell you this. You're using autopilot and you have it set above 60, anything above 60, it will tell you quite frequently, pay attention. And then it will give this thing where it says you need to turn the wheel in order to make sure that you're paying attention. So sometimes you turn the wheel and you can turn it a little bit. in order to satisfy the system, the autopilot giving you this notification. But sometimes it won't satisfy, and you've got to turn the wheel kind of hard, which is a little bit dangerous. That's one thing Tesla does need to work on. I know it's not Tesla's fault here, because it's actually the National Traffic Safety Administration that have forced Tesla to have this really kind of abrupt warning to make sure you actually pull on the wheel whilst you're driving at a certain speed. I know it's not really Tesla's fault, but still it is a little bit dangerous. So that's one of the negatives of this car. There's one other negative I should point out. At high speed, at fast driving, the system of suspension, it's comfortable. In all driving, normal driving, the Model 3 Highland is an incredibly comfortable car. But at faster speeds, the suspension is wafty. And you get that little feeling where you're like, "Ooh, feels like a bit of a boat here. Am I going to lose control on this, when I'm doing 85 miles an hour around a corner on the freeway?" It can feel a little bit not confident, for example. Now, when you hit a bump and it feels a bit wafty, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I never felt like I was going to die or anything, but the suspension, because of its softish Americanized setting, it just doesn't give you that same confidence. Now, obviously, the performance version of the Model 3, I drove that as well here in Australia, very different car. It doesn't give you that, doesn't have that sensation at all. This is the comfort setting of, the standard Model 3 Highland. Those are the two negatives. The suspension is great, except for higher speeds, where it sometimes feels a little bit disconcerting how soft it is. And the rebound performance on the way back up, it feels a little bit like, whoa, it's a bit wafty. Those are the two negatives that I took away from the car. Positives are, there's so many, I'm not sure where to start, but I'll start with this. The size of the Model 3, it's not a big car, but it's incredibly good at holding stuff. I mean, the boot space, the front space, you combine those together. The interior space, with that center console, that holds water bottles and drink bottles and coffees. And most cars, you think to yourself, "Oh no, I bought another drink, where am I going to put it?" And you might be through the drive-through, you go, "Where do I put a drink?" Well, that's the thing. You can take your water bottles, put them in the center console, which is a huge bin, and then you can put whatever drinks you're currently drinking at that moment back into the front cups. Lots of storage. We had suitcases with us. We were easily able to fit those in the Model 3. Didn't need to put stuff inside the car. Storage was amazing for the size of car. It's just mind-blowingly good in terms of storage for being a sedan. Other positives, right, was, like I said, the ride comfort. Even on crappy American roads, a lot of roads in America were quite good. Some of them were terrible. Even on those bad roads, it was very comfortable. Long distance driving, it was incredibly comfortable. Even in the seats, and for me getting used to the seat, I had to put it into my own personal position. I put it into the highest position. Did mean my head was a little bit high, sort of close to the roof, but for me that was the most comfortable position. And in that position, I was extremely comfortable. Autopilot on the freeways when it didn't have to do stop-start driving was amazing. I was fully confident that it would do the right thing. It took me a little while to get fully confident, but I did. And autopilot did so much of the work for me. There was so little to do. But in that time, right, when autopilot is doing its job and you've got hours and hours of driving, you can get pretty bored, to be honest. So I was looking around across the American countryside. I was doing a lot of sightseeing. And of course, then autopilot does tell you need to look in front. So you've got to kind of look in front. Then you can look around a bit. Then you can look in front again. So that's what I was doing. I think I got to see more of the countryside than what you normally would. But one thing I noticed, right, at those kind of highway speeds, say 70 to 80 miles an hour, what is the wind noise like? Wind noise is remarkably low at high speed. And so that meant that all of us could just listen to music. We could listen to the sound system. Tesla's sound system in its cheapest car, right? It has less speakers than the Model 3 long range and the Model 3 performance, but the sound system is unbelievable. It's the best sound system that I've tested in any car, right? Yeah, I know the long range version, actually, I've been in that, and the performance, that sounds a little better. But outside of the performance and the long range Tesla Model 3 or Tesla Model Y, it's an amazing sound system. Apparently Bose engineers were poached, or Bang & Olufsen engineers, it was either Bang & Olufsen or Bose, and they worked for Tesla on this proprietary in-house sound system, which is mind-blowingly good. You don't need to adjust any settings on it. It's just amazing out of the box. What about the lack of Apple CarPlay? Lack of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Initially, that frustrated me because, you get into the car, you want to just put your settings on. It did take it's a little bit of a learning curve. But the truth is, you don't want to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. It's a bad decision. If you were to buy a Tesla and use those, you're making the wrong decision. So Tesla not having Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is frustrating at the very start, that initial learning curve, but it's the best possible decision. You don't want to use it. You absolutely don't. In fact, Tesla, in a way, it's almost like they're saying to you, we are doing this, which we know is going to annoy you, but it's going to make your life better, and it does. One of the things that means is you use Tesla's navigation system, which is miles better than Waze. It is. Guys, I use Waze every single day in my normal life. The truth is Tesla's navigation system is actually significantly better. It's better at telling you what lane you need to be in, while Waze does not, or Google Maps don't do a good job of that, I found. On American freeways, you need to know which lane you need to be in. Otherwise, you're fucked. Seriously, you are screwed. If you're in the wrong lane, you're like, this dude's coming past you at 85 miles an hour and you've got to migrate and you come around a corner, you're like, oh no, I'm in the wrong lane. Bang, 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 you got to suddenly turn. Yeah, Tesla, it prevents you from being in the wrong lane. It's like telling you which lane you need to be in. And its integration with Tesla superchargers is vital to your life. You need it. Tesla's integration, when you say trip destination, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to San Diego, I'm going to go here, it tells you where you need to charge. It's perfect. It's unbelievable. There is no such thing as range anxiety, because why would you have it? Tesla's already mapped it out for you. You know when you need to stop. If anything, it's even easier than having a petrol car or gas car, because Google Maps doesn't tell you where you need to stop and fill up your car, fill up your engine with gas or diesel. So that's the positive. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a lot of people say it's a negative that it doesn't have that, but I think it's a positive. The other thing is, it does have Apple Music. We used Apple Music through the car. So there's really nothing that Apple, in my opinion, that Apple CarPlay or Android Auto has, which is a positive compared to Tesla's infotainment system, which is unbelievable. Now, one thing. Some people say the lack of a digital screen right in front of the driver, one little digital screen in front of you, is a big negative. I never honestly noticed it. I didn't. I got in the car and it was about halfway through the journey when I thought, hey, I don't even have a digital screen in front of me. I get this in the Xpeng, the G6, it's good, but I don't even have it in this Tesla. And I thought, I never even noticed. I never even thought of it. I never even thought, oh no, this is crap. I don't have a front screen right in front of me. I never even thought the speed, how it's got the speed on your Tesla screen, on your Model 3 screen, right in the corner, just to your right, because you're obviously driving your left-hand drive. I never thought to myself that that's awkward. I can't look at that. It was just natural. So that was my experience. May not be everyone's, but that was mine. Overall, driving a Model 3, supercharging a Model 3, owning the Model 3, for me, it's a no-brainer. Guys, if you're living in the United States, I can totally understand why the Model 3 is the second best-selling car and the Tesla Model Y is the best-selling car, because it's like a practical version of the Model 3. It's a phenomenal vehicle. It honestly is. My hat's off to Tesla. I have no affiliation with Tesla, as you guys know. Tesla doesn't sponsor YouTubers, as far as I know at all. But frankly, I still think the Model 3 is just a brilliant car, especially now that you can get the cheapest version for what is it, about $42,000, and it has more range than any Model 3 in history. And it's real world range, 363 miles of range. It's fast. It does 0 to 100, 0 to 62 miles an hour in 5 seconds. It's honestly got a phenomenal sound system. The seats are comfortable. It's quiet. I don't know where to start, where to stop, because the car was brilliant. And honestly, if you go to the United States and do a road trip like me, I highly recommend renting one, because it will be the best experience for you. If you rent a non-Tesla car, make sure as hell it's able to use Tesla superchargers, and you can use Tesla's mapping system. You really want to use Tesla's mapping system, because that takes uncertainty, range anxiety, trip planning anxiety out of the equation. You know what? If you're in the US, I personally would not recommend buying anything other than a Tesla until those other car manufacturers integrate into Tesla's network, start using Tesla's mapping system, so you can trip plan, you can plan out your trips. I know it's going to be some people saying, oh yeah, but I use Electrify America, I use so-and-so other charging brand. Yeah, they're not that good. They're just not. In fact, you know what? They are preventing EV adoption. There's a reason why all these other automakers are using Tesla's supercharge network or are lining up to do so, because it's the best. Thanks for watching.